When my son was about to start kindergarten, his teacher told us that the best way to help him wasn't with phonics or flashcards. It was just to read aloud every night. So we started something simple and it really turned into something special. We'd always done picture books at bedtime, but we wanted to try chapter books from our childhood. Books that we loved, the ones that we remembered and laughed through and cried over. But we made one rule: no movie until we finished the book. And that really turned story time into something to look forward to. And honestly, the books almost always win. We started with books that we remembered loving from when we were younger, but I forgot how powerful that they would feel when I read them aloud with my own children. Each one just hits a little differently now. This one was an emotional ride. I knew that it was sweet and beautifully written, but I had no idea how choked up that I would get just trying to read the final parts out loud. My kids were absolutely silent during the final chapters, and it opened up a whole conversation with us about friendship and loyalty and loss. This book is just so weird, and my kids were absolutely obsessed. Talking bugs, giant fruit, flying across the ocean. The imagination in this one is just wild. We would stop mid-chapter and just start laughing or go off on a tangent about what if. It's perfect for families that love silly and surreal stories. This one surprised me because I didn't remember it in quite the same way. The chapters are short, funny, and absolutely random, and my kids absolutely loved that. It was our go-to book because we were just too tired some nights to read full chapter books. But I still wanted to make sure that we had time to laugh together, and this book is perfect for that. Honestly, it is a lifesaver for parents that just want to say, "We read tonight." Honestly, just thinking about this one gets me emotional all over again. I didn't warn my kids, and honestly, I probably should have, but I'm glad that I didn't. And when it got sad, we were definitely passing around the tissues. But it also gave us one of those rare, quiet moments where the emotions just sat with us, and somehow reading this book together became one of our favorite memories. This one sparked a full-blown Narnia obsession. Sometimes we made hot chocolate before we all sat together reading, and my kids were always begging, just one more chapter, just one more. It was the first time that they really got to read a fantasy book, and it really was like stepping into another world. They kept asking each other, would you go through the wardrobe? And honestly, same. We ended this one with a movie night, and my kids were brutal. They skipped this part, they missed that, why wasn't this in there? Now they're the ones that are saying, well, the book was better, and really, they're usually right. Of course, not everything that we read was from our childhood. Some of our favorite read-alouds came from my kids themselves. My daughter suggested Miss Daisy is Crazy by Dan Gutman, and that really started us on the whole Weird School series. The chapters are short, the stories are ridiculous, and it really just became our go-to when we wanted something funny before bed. And then my son brought us The Bad Beginning from A Series of Unfortunate Events. We started it together, but then he devoured the entire series before we could even catch up. He was absolutely obsessed with the whole series, and honestly, I get it. We didn't read together every night because, let's be honest, life is busy. But the nights that we did, those are the ones that my kids still talk about. Reading aloud gave us something to share, whether it was a story that I loved as a kid or a new story that they had discovered. So if you're looking for a way to slow things down and connect with your kids and to pass on a little magic, this is it. I'd love to hear what books you grew up with, or even which ones your family is reading now. Drop the comments below. And if you want more family-tested ideas, book recommendations, and real-life parenting wins, never any fails, hit subscribe and stick around. I am the Modern Millennial.